Hello everybody, Get a Mozart here. We're playing some 9 Kings today, and I'd like to share a pretty cool build and fun build with you today using the King of Greed. I'd like to call this build the Mercenary Mobsters. You could probably guess why, but let's go ahead and go over the perks real quick. Losing a life gives you 50 gold, that's pretty good. I actually took a lot of free rerolls. We'll have 9 free rerolls for this game. Start with plus 60 gold, 2x on the 30. Vault cards is pretty handy. I always like expansionists, at least 2 random unlocked plots. And mercenaries cost -1 gold. Now I did the math between starting with extra gold and mercenaries costing less, and I do believe starting with just flat extra gold is way better. So let's get into it. Alright, right off the bat, we want to make sure to get King of Nomads as one of our enemies. Now, the King of Time is great too. Rewind is a super good card, and we'll be making use of that too. But King of Nomads for sure, because we want to get the mobs. Again, I call this build the Mercenary Mobsters. We're going to be stacking mercenaries and the card mob in a grid. And what happens is we're going to have a absolute crap ton of units. It'll be a whole swarm of mercenaries and mobs. So year 3, this is a really good start. You can see I'm rolling for the King of Time to try to get a rewind. That's just because I got 2 mercenaries and a mob in a row. So 3 cards that we will definitely be using. And I'm going to try to roll for a rewind here against the King of Time. Now, we did ban out the King of Spells for their AoE. We could do the same thing for the King of Time. Those orbiters really do a lot of damage, and it's good for a lot of units. But the rewind is just really good. So you can see here that we'll be able to fill up our board pretty quickly this game with rewind. I did take the Royal Decree that allows us to, pick 3 the next time around. That does scale pretty hard, but also could backfire, just because of, we don't get any upgrades until the next Royal Decree. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 or 10 years in between these decrees that we don't have any buff. But if we can make it, of course, really good. So yeah, we already have 5 plots, and the way you play this is, if you can, you always want to put the mob down first, right? Always want to put the mob down first, and you'll see when we start placing more mercenaries and replacing mercenaries that when you place them, only 1 mercenary pops up. So at the end of every year, the mercenaries repopulate based on how much gold you have. When you also replace those mercenaries, they will repopulate. So yeah, super good synergy here with the mercenaries and mob. And if you can, of course, always put the mob down first. Now you'll see this mercenary here starts with 1, but it's going to end the turn, and boom, recruited a ton more, which pretty much doubled 2 of our mob plots. Yeah, excellent start here. 151 units at year 7, and we are just cruising. Also have over 200 gold, which is great. King of Greed is great for collecting gold. Now again, we want to just try to get some more mercenaries. We're going to use this gold that we've saved up to try to get some. But again, I do want to keep some gold. So I try to get a mercenary. Now we're going to go to war against the King of Nature. King of Stone could be good just because of the Earthworks card. That'd be really good just to replace and replenish and restock our mobs. But King of Nature is really good too, just for the clone. Clone is a super good card. You'll see that in a lot of my builds. I just think it's a great card to, you know, get to the late game with really any build. So this should be the last mercenary I place, and we have a whole grid of 9, 5 and 4 or 4 and 5 mobs and mercenaries. So this is going great. You can't ask for a better start than this. 233 units at year 9. Our main units already on the plot, so that's awesome. So the merchant here, I'm thinking about removing mercenaries since I have a few in my hand. Offering's great just because you get 3 random extra tome cards that you can upgrade one of your units with. So we'll be using the offering, maybe even the sacrifice. Again, we have a lot of cards. We'll be able to play a lot of cards this turn. This is a really big turn for us already, or only year 10, and we're about to make some really, really big moves. Now, something to keep in mind, I just spent a lot of gold. And of course, mercenaries scale off gold, right? The more gold you have, the more mercenaries you have. Yeah, I said that right. Yep. Yeah, more gold you have, the more mercenaries you have. So when you do a big play like this, it's pretty important to replace the mercenaries, because if you leave, you'll see the other 4 plots of mercenaries, they will lose a few units. But if you start with a brand new mercenary on a new plot, you'll see there 2, 4, 6, 8. We just gained 8 units because of how mercenaries work. With when you place it, 1 mercenary is placed, and at the end of the turn, rejuvenate based on how much gold you have. So hopefully I explained that right. But yes, very important to place and replace mercenaries if you spend a lot of gold that turn. Definitely helps. So now all we're doing is we have 4 main mobs. We're just going to try to level those up a little bit, and that's going to be most of our damage. Our mercenaries, the idea behind this build, mercenaries just soak up the damage and, you know, just have a massive amount of mobs, which are ranged units. They're ranged units, but they're very short range units, and they throw rocks. So yes, that's the idea behind this. And we're doing really well. Again, this is a 6 start. So I'm thinking now about maybe the mid game. Now this game, we're just going to go to the first boss again. Whenever I do builds like this, I think, you know, trying to keep it under 30 minutes just to the first boss. But I'm thinking about mid and late game right now and how I want to upgrade my mobs. So one of my favorite tactics when I have a lot of mobs, or I'm sorry, when I have a lot of units, is to upgrade one singular plot, right? So pick one mob or one mercenary to upgrade. Absolutely stack all the enchants, all the damage buffs, health buffs onto that one. And when you get to the Royal Decree, there's a Royal Decree that makes your strongest unit's attack spread to all of your units. Now, that is a really powerful decree that could take you into the mid and late game easily, especially with a lot of units. So you see I just hovered over the plot that has like 2200 damage right now. That's about to be blessed with double damage. So that's really good. The double damage, if you can, level up that plot. So you'll see that I have a few levels on that mob plot just so we get more value when the blessing comes along. But yes, the 4,267 damage will be doubled from the blessing. The damage will be doubled here soon. So that would be awesome, and kind of tie right into what I was talking about with, you know, trying to get all equal damage on all my troops. Now, it didn't turn out like that. We ended up getting 2 burglary, which gives 4 stats for every one of our units, or each one gives 2 stacks of Midas Touch, which gives you a % chance to gain a gold every time you kill an enemy unit. Really like that one with a zoo type build as well. But yeah, burglary and insurance. Really good for gold gaining. You see we're at year 14 and 193 gold at the start. So give it a few turns here and we're going to be rich. The King of Greed, you know, we'll make his name for real. We will be the King of Greed. So almost halfway done with this build. It is, I think, 32 or 33 years for the first boss. So we're about halfway done with this run. I'll go ahead and just select a clone, and there's our Zenith. So this mob now has 20 damage. Pretty good, and we're going to go ahead and spend some gold to try to increase that a little bit more. So 23.7 damage on our strongest mob, and we have almost 400 units at year 15. Now I made a mistake here. You'll see I made a few mistakes in this run, but we still did okay. King of Time and their AoE, or Area of Effect. Anytime you have a lot of units, you want to make sure to avoid the AoE. So that's why in the beginning I banned out the King of Spells. What I should have done there is skipped the King of Time. We don't really need any more rewinds. That's great for getting started, but right now, I mean, we're kind of cruising. We got clones, we got mercenaries, and we're still against the Nomad, so we can still pick up mobs to level up our plots. So yeah, that's what I should have done. I should have skipped the King of Time, but that's okay. Also, the King of Stone, really good AoE champ with their ballistas. I always want to not go to war with them. Now, I can't remember if I mentioned that in this video, but Earthworks. The Earthworks card is awesome. I could make an argument, or see with someone making an argument for going to war with King of Stone right off the bat. Try to save a few of the Earthworks, and that would allow you to absolutely scale crazily. I've tried a few runs like this using King of Stone and Earthworks, but literally after year 8 or 9, the King of Stone one-shots your entire army. I don't think I have any videos of it, but I had about 20,000 troops at one point. This was past the first boss, of course, and I did not skip fighting the King of Stone, and they one-shot me with their ballistas. 20,000 troops, one-shot. Instantly dead. So yeah, ban King of Stone, ban King of Spells unless you're using one of their cards. If not, make sure to roll and not face them later on in your run. AoE smacks us. A few other champs, you know, I started with going to war with King of Nomads. Of course, we really need that, and the King of Time. Right off the bat, you know, the King of Nature would be great as well. I'll probably mention it in almost every video, but Clone is really, really good. So yeah, starting off, if you do re-rolls and stuff like I do to try to get the perfect war with these kings, for this one, ideally, I would do King of Greed, King of Nomads, and then your choice of King of Nature, King of Time, but just make sure to skip the King of Time later in your run, because they will one-shot you with those orbiters. Alright, so year 19, still growing a little bit. We just expanded a plot. Now we're at 11 slots, or 11 plots of mobs and mercenaries. 787 troops, which is crazy, at year 19. This is similar to the amount of troops that we had in our rat video. You know, comparing this to the rat video, I'm not sure which one's stronger, but I enjoy playing both of them. It's a really good time. Now, the thumbnail on the front, I know it shows like 30 or 40,000 troops. I got to that point and my game crashed. I couldn't play anymore. So I never figured out the true potential of this build. I had to just end the run because it was each match, all the troops kind of just froze, and it was taking like 10 minutes per match. Each one would go to a stalemate. So this build can take you really far if your computer can handle it. Mine cannot. So yeah, awesome build. Now we just got 3 random plots just so we can expand our army. A lot of times I don't take that, but with this and again, just a few turns ago we had about 300 or 400 gold. We have 550 now. This is why this build can scale like crazy, because if we just place 1 mercenary down, which we'll try to do here soon. Again, it'll start with 1 single mercenary, and then at the end of the turn, however much gold, you divide that by 15 normally, but since we have the perk, it's 14 gold. So you can see our biggest mob did 18,000 damage. They're kind of carrying this for us. That single mob right there, but that's kind of how I like to do it. Stack 1 mob, and then maybe later on we can get the decree that makes your highest attack mob, you know, go to all your other units. Year 22, 1141 units. Pretty good. And we're nearing 700 gold, so our army's just gonna keep populating with all this gold that we're making. Again, the stacks of Midas Touch really help. Let's see, I think that's a total of 8% chance to gain a gold each time you kill a unit. So, you know, the longer this goes on, the more valuable that would be, because your enemies will have more troops on the battlefield. But yeah, about 700 gold now, 1266 units. And you'll see last turn we made peace with the King of Time. Great choice on my end. We can't really afford to lose another life to that AoE from the Orbiters. So yeah, we are cruising now. We've hit the point where we're just scaling like crazy, and all we need to do really is just start leveling up more mobs and mercenaries. Try to get them all to level 3. That's the goal. And we will keep mobbing them. Again, I like to call this build the Mercenary Mobsters. I think that sounded pretty cool. And King of Nature's going down again. Alright. Now, coming up, we do have a buying round. We have a ton of gold, but again, remember that our troop count does depend on our gold. So, I definitely don't need any buildings. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that and save all of our gold. Now, I do have one extra plot here next to the vault. Since it's not connected to anything, I've decided to just level up our mobs. Our mobs and mercenaries. So I'm going to leave that blank. I'm thinking I want to try to get another support building there. Now, luckily we get this rainbow army, which is actually really tanky. If you look at the health bars at the bottom, it's actually a pretty close fight, even though we have about almost 10 times the units they have. But yeah, luckily rainbow army here, and we're going to try to pick up a nice support rainbow card. Let's see what we can get. But man, look how tanky they are. My goodness, 175 units for the Rainbow Army and about 1,400 for us, and it took a while. So absolutely perfect pickup here is the Shrine. Now the Shrine uses 9 gold every year, but it levels up a plot. Now since we're the King of Greed, we're making way more than 9 gold per year, so we're not even really going to notice that 9 gold's disappearing, and we're just going to get our plots leveled up. So really cool there. And then I see that, or I noticed a few turns ago that we're going to be expanding again. So since we got this shrine, I'm kind of considering trying to clone it. Might try to clone this and expand and get 2 shrines going right next on either side of the vault there, and get 2 of them going so we can level up 2 plots every year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I did fortunately get another mob. That's awesome. So we're cruising now. We're going to go ahead and clone this shrine. We got 2 of them, and 2 plots level up. 1, 2. And not only do they level up, if that level up hits a mercenary, you know, that's going to boost our troops for the mobs as well. So we can tell that the enemy is getting way tankier. These are a little bit longer rounds, but since we have so many, it really doesn't matter right now. You can see that one mob plot is doing 42,000 damage, really carrying the whole army. Just kind of deciding where to put that mercenary. We want to make sure to buff that 42k damage mob plot. Yeah, we're at almost 2,000 troops. Year 28. Still going up, and this King of Nature doesn't even stand a chance anymore. I almost feel bad for this King of Nature. Absolutely swarming them. Now, we honestly don't really need too much here. We really don't. We have all of our plots being leveled by our shrine. Now, this decree is, again, just a bonus. You know, we really don't need anything crazy. We have tons of gold. We got tons of troops. We could use a little bit of damage. So, you know, I'm kind of looking for damage, but, you know, a highly underrated spec is movement speed, too. But Catharsis is really what I was looking for. Although only 28.7 damage for this mob. Look at that. Almost 500% damage for most of these plots. So, really good value there, even though it was only 28 damage. Really, really good upgrade there when you have a lot of troops. So we have 2,000 troops now that are doing 28 damage instead of, you know, maybe about half of that. And you can see how much faster that round went with that Catharsis boost. Really, really cool perk. And the shrines are really doing work here. I only have one more mob that needs to be leveled up. And I think everything else is pretty much leveled, so that's awesome. King of Greed doesn't stand a chance again. No chance. And we got about 3 more years, so it is year 33. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Year 33 for the last, I'm sorry, for the first boss. And this was one of my most successful runs with the King of Greed this past week. I really, really enjoy these massive unit builds. We just have a huge swarm of units on the battlefield. Yeah, I have a bunch of other builds that I'd love to do videos on that, you know, maybe in the next week or 2 I'll be releasing. But yeah, year 31, 2188 troops. And we're cruising. Here, I'm either looking for a swords or one more mob. But I believe that all my mobs are leveled up now, so I'm really considering taking the mob or the swords to just to boost our damage a little bit. And again, I'll put it on our mob that has the most right there in the middle with 25k damage. And you can see 396 units in that one plot. Absolutely swarming King of Nature, and then after this round, we got the boss. We'll see if we can beat them, but spoiler alert, I think we will. So one more card here from the King of Nature, and we're just going to take the Procreate. 9 units to the selected troop. And I did reroll. I rerolled to the King of Greed just because I remember facing the King of Nature. I believe that boss does have a pretty big AoE, and that made me pretty nervous there. So I went ahead and rolled against the King of Greed, which I don't I honestly didn't remember if they had AoE, but I got pretty lucky and, you know, not much AoE from this boss. So this fight does take a few minutes here, but 2,538 troops, year 33 on the first boss, nearing 1,500 gold. Now I didn't play this one through, but I definitely could have. This was such a good game, such a good start. And finishing off the last rebellion here. And let's see how fast we kill this boss. Pretty quick. Pretty quick. Now it's a ton of units doing just a little bit of damage, so I've definitely killed the bosses faster, but yeah, this is my Mercenary Mobsters guide. I hope it helped you, and I hope it gave you ideas for your builds. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.